What's up, Internet? You're tuning in episode 74 of the Steam Deck Podcast, Flip Screen Games weekly gaming podcast, all about Valve's portable PC powerhouse, the Steam Deck. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined as always by my very good friends and co-hosts, Mr. Steven Radford
Hello, hello.
and Mr. Max Wright.
Ahoy, ahoy.
Welcome back, boys. We got a
Yeah.
jam-packed episode today. I'm not going to leave any room for handbrakes or jokes or nothing. We're just jumping into it, all right? We're talking about the top 20, what is it, 20, right? Top 20 games? Is that what they do every month? Yeah, top
Yeah,
20
top
Steam
20, yeah.
top
Yeah.
20 Steam Deck games by hours played is where we're going to kick things off. After that, we're going to talk a little bit about some of our time with Celeste 64, the Steam Deck's exclusive Celeste game. And then we've got a ton of questions from you guys in the Steam docket that I want to get through all of them, but we'll see. We got a ton of them, so we might have to save some for next week. But let's get into it. So this week, or today, actually, earlier today, as of this recording, on deck, the official Steam Deck Twitter account dropped the first top 20 list of games for 2024, and alongside a lot of the usual suspects, we did have a couple new games jump towards the top of the list, unsurprisingly. So I just want to run through them real quick and see what you guys think. So number one, we have Baldur's Gate 3 staying strong at number one. Number two, unsurprisingly, we have Pal World, right? Of course, breaking Steam records left and right. Not surprising to see it near the top of this list. We'll see if it can take the top spot next month. I think is going to be the interesting thing too.
I think it probably will, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess maybe people have run out of things to do in the game by that point. I have no idea.
You don't know.
There always
There's all these new people coming in too, though, right?
That's true. There always comes a time in these early access survival games where you do all of the content and you're like, cool, let's wait for the next patch. I mean, you got like a good few months before the patch comes out. So it might peak and trough. As I think we'll probably see as content comes out, this will rise and then it will drop and then it will rise as new content comes out and drop.
Yeah.
So we should chart this against the roadmap in future.
Definitely. I was thinking about it. I think I want to do this for 2023. I want to make like a short comparing the chart over the course of the year to like see like what games moved and everything.
Nice
And
thought.
I think there's like it would be interesting to break down that data for people and do something with that. I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like. So if that's something you're interested in, dear listener, and you have any ideas, make sure you let me know. Number 3, Elden Ring. Unsurprising, right? Seeing that one maintaining a top spot. I feel like it's
nearly 2 years old.
It's dipped here and there, but it's like obviously that's a game I feel like people are playing again and again. And anytime there's a sale or something like that, it's like, all right, yeah, that's not great time to jump in, right? Never a bad time to jump in.
Yeah, I'd imagine a bunch of this is like people catching up on stuff as well after
Sure.
over the holiday period.
Yeah.
Great
going
point.
into January.
Sales come in, maybe now.
Yeah,
now
right. They
people are
just
getting their
probably
debt.
picked up stuff during the Christmas sale or the winter sale, whatever, right?
Yep. I think a lot of these
Totally.
games are like, oh, I got a Steam Deck for Christmas. What are the ones? What are the games? And they've gone through and just picked up all the good stuff.
Then next we have Monster Hunter World. That's another that's one of the best, multiplayer options. So to your point, I could totally see that being a thing you're playing with your buddies while you're waiting for the next big game to come out. Maybe you saw the trailer for the next one and you got excited, you want to jump back in kind of thing. Totally makes sense. Cyberpunk 2077, right? That DLC kind of put that back on the map. It was on everybody's lips at the Game Awards. The idea that people were excited to jump back in again, right? And take advantage of the holiday lull to kind of play through that DLC. Totally makes sense to me. We got Stardew Valley, another always on the top of the list type game. Dave the Diver, the Turf Wizard game, Grand Theft Auto 5, Vampire Survivors, Red Dead Redemption 2, Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim Special Edition, Binding of Isaac Rebirth, Diablo 4, Hades, Cult of the Lamb, Persona 5 Royal, Warframe, Fallout 4, and Slay the Spire. The back half, everything from then on down is kind of a lot of the usual
suspects.
They move
Yeah.
around, but right, like these are the games. These are the games that absolutely slap on Steam Deck, and you got to imagine as people buy a new Steam Deck, right, and they look, what are the best games on it? They're picking them up.
If we went back to the end of 2022 episode where I think it was me and you, Pete, and you said, don't look it up. You need to guess what games are in the top 10 of the year of all time on Steam Deck. I'm pretty sure most of them are still in here.
It's at least half of them are the same games for sure. Yeah. I mean, and again, right? That's one of those things about the Steam Deck that I think is so great, and it reminds me of the early days of the Switch, where when we were all like really hungry for software and you were getting ports of like LA Noir and people were like,
My
yeah,
God.
awesome, put
Yeah.
everything on Switch,
Do you
right?
remember
Like,
Oh,
how
yeah.
excited
It was
everyone
like,
was?
"Oh, we've got a Rockstar game finally.
Yeah.
GTA's coming next." Not the
Yeah,
one you
not so
wanted, though.
much.
years. Do you remember how excited
Crazy.
everyone was for Snake Pass? That was a massive indie hit that
It's a
everyone
fun
was so
game.
excited for because there
Fun
was
game.
nothing else out on the Switch.
But point being, right? I think there is something about wanting to replay an old game that you like and that you know already, but not necessarily wanting that to take up your dedicated console TV time and being able to jump in on a handheld and kind of chip away at it. I think speaks to a lot of players clearly, right? And
Mhm.
the Steam Deck is so perfect for that because obviously, with the Steam library, right? Like you don't have to wait for, you know, the rock stars of the world to be like, let's port this 2 generational game to this
Mhm.
hardware, right? Like you can just jump into whatever's available on PC, which is damn near everything. So
Everything.
pretty sick. Pretty sick.
Yeah. Including
Real
stuff you can't get on console. Oh, I was gonna segue, but go on, do you real quick.
just the this is my last thing. It's the
Go
only thing.
on.
Crazy to see Fallout 4 in this list and no Starfield.
Well, Fallout 4, like, runs so well, and it was, like, 50p in the sale. Like, I was
Yeah.
considering picking it up. It was so cheap.
That
Yeah.
doesn't
I
surprise
ended up
me.
playing, like, New Vegas instead because it's a better game.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
also it doesn't have to compete with. Oh, it does have to compete with Game Pass. What am I saying? Of course, it's on Game Pass, but I mean, I guess it's not $60 unless you buy it on Games Pass.
No, it was honestly, it was, like, 3.99. It was ridiculous. So,
That's free on Steam. That counts as free.
That's free.
that's like sell a couple of the trading cards and then you're done.
Yeah,
I got
which I still
$4
haven't
burning a
done.
hole in my
Which I
pocket, Steve. I'm ready.
still haven't done that. I haven't even looked at it yet.
You're sitting on a gold mine, dude. You got at
Yeah,
least
I
four or
hope
five
so.
dollars in there for 6 years of playing games on Steam.
Imagine what I can get out of that, eh?
Imagine, just imagine.
Huh.
Speaking of things that I couldn't have imagined,
That was tenuous.
what was yours? What was yours? Wind it back. What
Mine,
was your segue?
you said something about PC can play absolutely everything, and I was going to say including things that you can't play on console. And I was going to go straight into Celeste 64
Okay.
Fragments of the Mountain.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That was pretty good. I'll
Yeah,
give it to you. That was a good segue.
brilliant.
You know, we're
Shall I
there
carry
now.
on then?
We're
Oh,
there.
we're there
Okay.
now. Good.
Okay. Okay. We're
Okay.
there. We're there.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I'll throw it to you, buddy, because
Go on
you
then.
wanted
Fine.
to bring this topic to the table.
I've not stopped talking about this topic to you guys. To be honest, I think I've had to bully you guys into letting me talk about it, but I also bullied you into playing it, so that's good. That
I
means
want
we
to
can.
say I'm really glad you did, because as a big Celeste fan, like
Mhm.
I should have been more like day one. Let's jump on this, and it wasn't until you gave me the nudge, and I'm like, "Oof, whoa, okay,
Day
this
two's
is
not bad,
something."
baby. Day two's not bad. So for those who aren't in the loop or haven't been paying attention, maybe don't know much about Celeste, whatever. The game has officially been out 6 years as of yesterday, and to celebrate the 6 year anniversary of Celeste release, the team. So it's Extremely OK Games that are currently making Earthblade. It is the team that used to be Maddie Makes Games, but they sort of changed their
They
name and sort of
rebranded.
they rebranded so they knew that it wasn't just Maddie Thorson, I think it is, that was working on it.
Yep.
Lena Rain's involved. There's other people involved. Extremely OK Games have released Celeste 64 Fragments of the Bounty, which, as you can possibly guess, is a 3D sort of N64 style spin-off. I'll read what I wrote here because it makes more sense. It's a free collectathon style 3D spin-off slash sequel to Celeste in the vein of Nintendo 64 classics like Super Mario 64. So what that means is it takes a lot of the sort of classic stuff you like from Celeste, the sort of the challenging platforming, just the sort of the characters and the
The
music, the
the core
dash,
mechanics, right? Like
yeah,
it's like you have the dash, and like when you dash, you get the blue hair, which means you can't do it
you can't
again.
dash, yeah,
There's
the
the wall
climbing,
grab and the sliding
hmm
and everything. So it's really a very clever transition of those familiar mechanics to 3D. Like, and
yeah,
again, I think the Mario 64 call out is like so perfect, right? Because
yes,
it's
yeah.
totally that same kind of spirit.
Yes, yeah, it feels like they've sort of understood what sort of those games look like, even down to like the fog, the field of view, or the loadout distance, or whatever. Like in PS2 games, N64 games, where you got just far enough away, and there was like a fog where you couldn't quite see.
Yeah,
That sort of
yeah,
feels quite good.
yeah.
But what's really exciting about this is
Artificial
it's
draw distance.
yes, exactly. They've had to really put it in. What's really sort of exciting about this is it's free for one. only took them a week to make. It's just something they wanted to do as a team to celebrate it. And it's not, particularly long. It's sort of, you can beat it in about half an hour. It took me 90 minutes to do everything, but there's sort of one hub world which is based on the first world from Celeste. It's the sort of ruined city with the spikes everywhere. And hidden around that world, like a level in Super Mario 64, there are 30 strawberries, and that's sort of strawberries that are based, hidden in little nooks and crannies. There are ones that are hidden behind like platforming challenges, ones that are like, oh, I think I can get there, so you have to climb way up there to find it. And then there are ones that are in like bonus levels. I don't know if you got as far as any of the bonus levels, Pete, the cassettes.
Yeah, I have. They're tough. Some of them
Yeah,
are
they
really
are. They really are.
hard.
But I
uh,
really, really, really love the way that it feels like in Super Mario Sunshine when you go inside one of those levels where you get FLUDD taken away from you, and the music changes to that like a cappella version of the
yes.
Mario theme tune, and you have a goal to get to at the end. It really feels like that, where it's just you and the game, and they've got a sort of a remixed version of one of the songs from Celeste. And you're just trying to get this strawberry, and they are challenging, but they are rewarding. And I loved that. I really think they did a great job, like you said earlier, of sort of translating or transitioning what people love about Celeste or what we loved about Celeste and turning it um, to making it 3D, And I like the way they took a lot of the mechanics in it because even like the crystals, there's like the green crystal that gives you an extra dash in the air, the pink one that gives you two dashes. There's the feathers which before let you just sort of move in a line till it runs out. Now that they've changed the plane of that, so instead of moving in like up and down, you're moving sort of side to
It kinda,
side.
like, propels you up and you, like, fly for a short distance.
Yeah, yeah, until it runs out, and that in some of the levels they use that really, really like it's tough, but it is it's good. Like it's really well done, and the moving blocks as well. That the idea of using your momentum that you gain from these moving blocks still carries on in this, and yeah, I just think this is such a great freebie. For those listening, you can go to itch.io. If you
Yeah.
just search Celeste 64, or you can go on itch.io
We'll
and
have
you
a link
search
down
Celeste
below too if
64.
you wanna
Yeah, we'll
just
have the
click
link
through
too.
and check it
Yeah,
out. But, yeah,
um,
it's up for free and you can go grab it, and,
yeah,
it's kinda wild. Like, my immediate thought was, like granted, I know it's very short, I'm like, they gave this away for free? It's so good.
mhm.
Like, it's
And it took them a week to make.
that makes no sense to me. That
Yeah,
makes no sense to me, and there's a bit of dialogue in it, where you talk to, the granny character,
mhm,
and she's kinda like, "Oh, like, what are you doing back here? Like, I heard you're writing a book, like, what's going on?" And, Madeline is like, "Can't I just, like, come back to, a fond memory without, like, getting, like, interrogated with a bunch of questions?" And
yeah.
she says, like, I know there's more to it, but I'll leave it at that for now. And I'm like, okay, so is this just a celebration thing that they did in a week for fun and it was a cool game jam idea and it came together and it's a great celebration of, the game that put them on the map? Or did they say that and they wanted to see what people thought about it and now they're like, yeah, well, maybe we make a game? Cuz like
Yeah,
I
I
I
was
think I
thinking that as
think it
well.
is that though, because 'cause they've done this before with, like, Celeste Classic for
Celeste
Pico.
Classic 2 as
Yeah.
well. I was just playing
true.
Celeste Classic before we started recording as well. I'm pretty near the end of that. I was just like, "Yeah, I'll play through this." I'm also gonna play Celeste Classic 2 and then also play the full release of Celeste. I'm gonna do that
Mhm.
all this week because why not? I'm having fun. Um, yes, they do things like this, and I do think that might be maybe more tongue in cheek. But also it could mean, even if it's not a 3D one, it could mean that there is more plans for Celeste as a character or more plans for Celeste as a franchise.
Yeah.
Could mean anything. Could also mean nothing. If it means nothing, great. I like this for what it is, not what it could be. Um,
Yeah, it literally doesn't need to be any more than it is to be an
yeah.
incredibly cool special thing,
Yep.
and also, I'm really enjoying it, and I would certainly like more.
Absolutely.
If
Yeah.
they wanted to go for a full remake of the original game in that
I mean,
style.
what's great is that it's open source, so
Yes. Yeah.
someone could make the whole game in this style if they wanted to, and
Or just
I'm
make
sure
custom levels
people are
or
already gonna make custom
Yeah.
levels and doing
Yeah, that's
stuff
true.
yeah.
just for it.
And, like, I
Um,
think if they wanna just make a one-for-one recreation of the original game, that's the thing I feel like fans could probably pull off, but, like,
yeah. Put
I
translate a lot of those elements into 3Ds. Maybe some of them wouldn't work, but a lot of them probably would.
That said, the fact that there's, like, dialogue in it that acknowledges the original game and it kind of, teases at this idea of more for the character of Madeline, I would really like to see that just because, like, I don't need more, right? Celeste is
Mhm.
perfect. Celeste is a really, I think, like one of the best games in its genre, one of the best games of all time. It has a fantastic, complete story, brilliant soundtrack, like all that stuff, right? It's a super great game. That said, right, like if you don't know the story behind it, um, like Madeline is kind of like a unintentional self-insert character for
Mhm.
Maddie of Maddie Makes Games, right? And like so Maddie has gone through so much personal growth since that story of self-discovery that they had through Celeste, right? Or she had through Celeste. And like I would love to see her return to that character and like I don't know, I guess it's just kinda like a check-in on, like, their personal journey and, like, the growth that she's gone through since that and as the team and the company is I don't know, like, it would be really cool to go back to it now in this
Mhm.
new style and, like, say something else. As much as
Yeah.
a recreation of the original in this would just be cool, like, I'd be all in for that. I I really would love to hear what else Maddie has to say with this character,
Yeah,
right? And,
I
like,
agree.
I don't
I
know.
like all the characters, but battling as well as like an element of her anxiety and
Sure,
her
yeah.
stress. I liked that element of it too. There's not a lot of that in this one, and that's fine because that's not really what this is. This is sort of much more whimsical, much more just like this is fun, play this and
Yeah.
move on.
It
Which
feels
again,
way more like a love letter to this style of game, which I think
yeah,
is also super cool, because
yes,
like,
I agree.
I don't necessarily know that you can recreate like, climbing that mountain again would not be the same experience for Maddie right now, you
Yep.
know what I mean? Like, so, like, the idea of maybe doing something that is, like, more playful or whatever and just is more like an extension of the brand of Celeste and everything is, like I think that's cool too.
Yep.
But like you said, right? If this is all it is, then hey, like it's awesome. This is I think by far the coolest thing a game has done to celebrate an anniversary like
I
this.
think so, absolutely, yeah. Yep. And I think that you should all probably give this a go, if you're listening. And also the reason why we called it earlier the Steam Deck exclusive, game, Celeste game, is because, because this is only on PC, you can download it for itch. There is a Linux version that you just download, add to Steam, and run. It works perfectly. The controls work perfectly. I'm pretty sure it was running at 60 FPS locked. I
Yeah.
guarantee it. Maybe even 90. I can't remember now. But yeah, I think that everyone should check this out. And you can't play this on other consoles, which I think makes it it sort of limits who can play it. But us Steam Deck players can play it perfectly in the palm of our hands.
It's awesome.
Um,
It has a Linux version, guys. Come
Yeah.
on. It's
No, I didn't
made
even have to
for
run
us.
Proton. I didn't even have to run
Not
Proton. I just
even.
downloaded it and ran it. So I think you owe it to yourself. Also, I was shocked when I did it. I downloaded it like 6 hours after it went live,
Mhm.
and Steam Grid DB already had the images I needed ready to be added. Like, they worked
they're
so
they're
quick.
so fast.
They worked
That's
so
wild.
quick to get it up.
I love that, man. Did you get the updated version? Because there's a 1.01 now too.
Yes, I got 1.01. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that had managed to come out by the time I actually got to it.
Okay.
But yeah, it must have been a pretty quick fix. I can't remember what the issue was, but
It looks like there's a couple of things on the changelog. Speedrun timer error that would
Oh,
round
okay.
up 1.6 hours as 2 hours, and there was an OpenGL error on Linux.
oh,
So,
okay.
that's all been
Well, I didn't
resolved.
get that. I did the whole thing. But yeah, just to tie a little bow on this, I think this is something that you still give a go, especially if you like Celeste. I love these little free games, fan games and stuff, and I would like to talk about them sort of some more. I've got loads that I've been playing on the deck recently. All I've been doing is testing out like fun little projects people are working on, just downloading random GitHub people are working on GitHub projects. Um, joining a bunch of discords for these fun things because these are things I can play on the Steam Deck that I couldn't play elsewhere other than sitting at a
Yeah.
PC, and it just goes to show all the fun that a Steam Deck can be and how important it is being a handheld PC, or what it can do.
I think it's really cool for the development community, because like that was the thing I saw when I went to play NYC last year was like a lot of these games that are like still in early development and like not in early access or anything are like running on Steam Deck because you
Yeah,
can do that, right? Like,
yeah,
and you can be like, hey, like this feels like a real like finished game because you're sitting here playing it on a piece of hardware,
Mhm.
not with an Xbox controller plugged into a laptop. And like, no shade, if that's your setup, that's cool. But like, I think we can all agree going and sitting down at a games booth and they hand you the game loaded up on deck, it feels more official. It's really
Yeah.
cool. And like the
Yeah,
fact that
yeah,
like this is a game that you can just get off GitHub and just load up on your deck and it runs like a
yeah.
native game is really tight. Yeah.
And then putting the art on as well just makes it feel like I'm on a console, and I'm playing this game that has been released, and it's just a couple of people working on some stuff, and yeah,
Love it.
fun to
You love to see
support,
it.
fun to be a part of.
Yeah, I'd love to do an episode where we talk more about those games in full. Maybe we make like a top 10 list or something like that. I'd be interested to see where Celeste 64 lands on that because there's a couple games like that that I've talked about in the past, like stuff like Pokemon Radical Red and some of those ROM hacks that are just so at home on these consoles.
I will come with a fat list, let me tell you.
All right, we'll save that one for a slow week.
I
We
also would wanna know from people listening, fan games, but also games on itch in general. There's so much cool experimentation going on over there that I
Yeah,
don't think ever makes it to Steam because 'cause they're often just, like, little 15, 20-minute experiences that are free or, pay what you want or low cost, and it's well worth checking out over there.
I agree. There's
Especially,
a
like
sorry, go on.
especially,
I was
like, a
gonna just
bunch
say
of those, like,
oh, sorry.
horror games I always play.
You love these weird little one-hour
Yeah.
horror games, don't you?
You do. I was gonna say, yeah, I think this really was a reminder of the fact that I don't think of itch enough, and that's like a
Mhm.
thing that like we should probably be paying more attention to.
I agree. There's one specific game I've been waiting for, on itch, which is it was a Kickstarter game that's available on it's gonna be available on itch. It's a Game Boy Color game that when you get the Kickstarter, you either get a Game Boy Color cartridge that plays on your Game Boy Color, or you get a ROM file that you have to run through a Game Boy Color emulator to be able to play it. There isn't like a PC or a Linux version. You have to put the ROM that you
You gotta
buy
like open it up
in
in
an
Visual Boy
emulator.
or something.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So I'm gonna, yeah, when that eventually comes out, I'm gonna have to put that in EmuDeck to be able to play it, not, just sort of run it on Steam, which I think is fun. I'm looking forward to that. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but,
There's so much cool stuff like that, though. There's like a Nokia Jam where you have to make a game that would run on a Nokia 3310, and it's
nice.
got to fit within a certain amount of like kilobytes. It can only
Oh
be
my god.
84 by 48 pixels with like a certain number of like colors. Um, yeah, it's really fun. There's
I
some
love
cool
that.
stuff going on over
There's
there.
nothing like constraint to make people's creativity,
Yeah,
really come alive,
100%.
is there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so we're going to jump into the Steam docket in just a second and answer questions from you, the listeners. But before we do that, let me remind you that this episode of the Steam Deck podcast is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of February. They are, of course, Arnold J. Rimmer, Christopher Valenz, Earth Visitor, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, aka Sobe, Snack and Go, Steve Stompy, Susan Likes Cats and Also Boobies, Ty the Dude, and Wakahula. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. You're all the reals to the real, and we greatly appreciate your support of this and all of our sister shows. If you want to go show your support just like they did on Patreon and get a bunch of cool perks and goodies, if you want to go check out some of those sister shows, or if you just want to join the community and keep the conversation rolling between episodes or get your thoughts read on the air, you can do all that and much more by heading over to flipscreen.games. That's our website where you can find all the links to find all the places that we are all over the web. However you choose to get involved or show your support, thank you for tuning into another episode of the Steam Deck Podcast. Let's jump into the Steam docket. This first one comes from Left over on the Discord, who wrote in and said, as a Steam Deck owner, does the upcoming Switch 2 make you feel like you'll finally be putting the Steam Deck down and moving to the shiny new Nintendo? Or has it truly become the go-to gaming system?
Mm. No, I don't think I'll ever kind of put the Steam Deck down now. I think for me, maybe it's as powerful as the Steam Deck. I don't think it maybe is going to usurp it, but I do think that opening up the walled garden, it has like really kind of opened my eyes. I'm never going to be able to play something like Celeste 64 that we just spoke about
Right.
on the Switch. It's not going to happen. It's not
Yeah.
viable for them to publish that there. Whereas they can shove it on itch as a file, and I can download and I can play it. Or if I want to play games that, you know, I maybe own on another platform and wanna emulate, then I can do that. I can't do that on the
Or
Switch, and I'll never be able to do.
or even, like, take emulation out of it, right? But, like, taking advantage of, like, our tutorials and, like,
Mhm.
streaming from, like, your PlayStation 5 or your Xbox, and, like, that's another way for you to interact with games that you own on other platforms, but you're still spending time on the deck, right? Um, yeah, I think to me, the question that I remember posing to you, Steve, when they first announced the Steam Deck and, like, my skepticism for it was, like, I was afraid I would buy it and it would be a passing kind of thing, right? It's like I'd play with it for a little bit, you install some junk on it, and then it kind of starts collecting dust, right?
Mhm.
And I think that the deck is definitely proven to me that like it has its own identity as a console in my arsenal, right? In the same way that like I own a PlayStation and an Xbox and I use both of them, right? But I use them for different things, right? Like I get certain types of games on Xbox and certain types of games on PlayStation. Obviously, I'm playing exclusives on different things, right? But like when it comes to the Steam Deck, there's so many things like even if the Switch 2 comes out and it's way more powerful than the Steam Deck, that's fine. That means that certain games that I might have played on deck before, I'll play on Switch instead. In the same way that I used to play those indies on Switch and now I play them on Steam Deck because that's where they're played the best. But even if that happened, even if
They
we
also
got
come
to a
out there
point,
first, right? Like, they come to Steam first. It's always
exactly.
like, we were always waiting for them to come to
Mhm.
Switch before. We're sat around like going, "Oh, I'd love to play that game, but
Yeah.
if only it was on Switch." Like Vampire Survivors, right? If
Exactly.
only it was on Switch.
You would have gotten into that game over a year late, right? If not for the deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are
Um,
people currently talking about the game as, like, their first time through it, and,
totally.
for me, it was like, "Oh, I remember playing that a year and a half ago." Or, not as like a that sounds like I'm being really elitist there, but like, "Oh, yeah, I missed, like, that era of I'm really into
It's
this
like a
game, like,
new wave now,
obsessively."
and you've already
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, yeah,
crested
yeah,
for you,
yeah.
right? You're on to whatever the new thing is.
Yes,
Solid.
Um,
yeah.
and yeah, I think that's one of the main advantages, right? Is like the games come out sooner. They're also cheaper, right? The Steam ecosystem is generally the most affordable. That's a huge advantage. And
Mhm.
then, like you said, it's the ineffable part of it of like fan games and ROM hacks and cool stuff on GitHub and early access,
Emulation.
yeah, emulation, early access stuff like Pal World, right? Like those are all things that like you're never going to get on the Nintendo Switch 2, and that's fine because I think I would rather live in a world where all as a person that owns multiple consoles, right? I want all those ecosystems to be healthy and attractive enough that I'm in all of them and that like
Mhm.
it's not that I'm spending, when people ask like what console do you play the most? My answer is like, well, what's out, right? Like, and that's how you want it to be. And
Yeah.
I think we've totally hit a point where, yeah, they're both handheld devices, but I don't think that they're extremely analogous experiences at all. I think they offer way different things. And I think the things that the pros and cons of each balance each other out really well, actually.
I'm with you there. For me, think that it really comes down to not a hardware thing, it's a software thing. I didn't play my Steam Deck for the whole of October purely because I was playing stuff that come out on
Yeah.
Switch
Yeah.
and on PS5, and that's fine. And I'm sure when the Switch 2 does come out, if there is software like, I don't know, Metroid Prime 4 that comes out and is only on, sorry for the people with earphones in, that comes out and and is it's only going to be on Switch 2. Let's just say, um, I'm going to want to play that, and I'm going to be playing that through for weeks. I'm going to be playing that over and over and over again. I'm going to be glued to the Switch 2, but not because the hardware is any better or because I want to play with this new hardware. It's because I want to play that game, and
Yeah, right.
that for me is a big part of why I have multiple consoles. Is I don't want to miss something. I don't want to be like, oh, this game looks really good, but I can't play it. And the Steam Deck has done a lot of that for me with certain things of like, oh, I really want to play this, and I can play it. I can sit and I can play it in my hands. I can play it on my TV. The same way I can with the Switch, just without the limits, like you say, the sort of walled garden of the Switch, where it's just like this is what you can play because this is what there is. So
I
yeah,
think
I
what'll
think.
probably happen is once you play through all the essential stuff on the Switch too, and where during the Switch's life cycle, we were hungry for the snake
Mhm,
passes and stuff of the
mhm.
world, like you said, you'll be like, all right, I'll jump back on the deck and play what's
Yeah,
up, what's
and I'll play
popping off
older
over there.
stuff. Yeah, and I'll play newer stuff, and, like, I'm sure a lot of the indies that come out for Switch 2 will still probably in some ways play better on the Steam Deck, especially if, the rumors of the LCD screen are true, because I'd like to continue playing with the OLED screen. I do think that extra, if the rumor of an 8-inch screen is true, that extra, whatever it is, 0.6 inches might be enough if the screen is also, decent enough for an LCD
But
to
it's
pull me
probably
in.
16 by 9, so it's 8-inch 16 by 9, so it's probably gonna be similar size in terms of the,
Oh,
size of
you
the Steam Deck.
you are clever. You are clever, Steve. I didn't even think of that. This is why we have you on every week, on our show. Yeah, you're right then, yeah, then maybe I'm not gonna play my indies on Steam Deck. Maybe I am gonna play them on Switch. Sorry, the other way around. Not play them on Switch 2, I'll play them on Steam Deck. You know what I'm trying to say.
I think either way, right? It's like I think it will be valuable to own both devices, and that's the key to the Steam Deck not falling out of rotation.
I agree, but I also do think it depends on the player. So if for example you have a Switch library currently, then the Switch 2 is going to be a lot more appealing for you. If you have a PC library and you've been working on building that up over decades, then the Steam Deck's more appealing to you.
Mhm.
Or if you don't really vibe with Nintendo exclusives, you're not a Mario guy, you don't really
Absolutely.
like Zelda, then that's probably not the console for you to
What a
go to.
sad
Whereas
person,
I
you know?
love those games.
Sad, sad.
I think for a lot of people who use, use the Steam Deck and maybe don't own a Switch because they think, "Oh, I can just emulate Switch games," which is possible. I do wonder if there's no guarantee that the Switch 2, wherever it is, will be emulatable. We don't know if the games are gonna be playable there. So I think a lot of people who are used to playing Nintendo exclusives through the Steam Deck, through piracy, admittedly, if they're going to be forced to pick up the Switch 2, if there are games to, let's say they do a Breath of the Wild, or a Mario Odyssey 2, and they play Mario Odyssey on the deck, and they're like, I really want to play this game, I just can't because I don't have that ability on my Steam Deck now. They don't, the software doesn't exist for me to be able to do that. That might push someone in that
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's jump into this next question from Creepier Leaf 44, who wrote in over on the Discord and said, "Do you guys have problems with color accuracy when your Steam Deck OLED is connected to an HDR capable TV? I cannot get my Steam Deck to produce colors that aren't washed out. Turning off HDR in the menu gives the image a blue cast because of the white point slash color temperature settings. Turning the color temperature down makes the image look a bit better, but I'm worried that most content is mastered at 6500K now. Although I can't find any information about what white point balance game developers use. For example, RE2 Remake looks much better on my PS5 on the same TV, HDR on. I've also noticed that the HDR setting seems to be system wide. For example, having HDR turned on in the Steam Deck settings and off in the game's options menu produces a similar image to having the deck system level HDR off and the in-game HDR toggle turned on. I wish I could just force the Steam Deck to output sRGB or Rec 709 color space. That I've never heard that term before. Sorry. Um, any thoughts? The games look fine on the Steam Deck screen. P.S. I'm pretty sure the issue is not caused by my TV, only working with the limited RGB color space. It supports HDR and the P3 color space. Love the show. Thanks. Max.
I I actually had this issue,
Right.
when I first got my dock and I was plugging it in and I was playing, I wanna say Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii, and I was like, "Why does this look worse on my TV than it does on the deck screen?" And I looked it up and I had to just force, so it was auto, uh uh,
Like selects
resolution.
the
HDR?
It was
resolution
like an
and the
auto
frame rate,
resolution.
yeah.
Yeah, so I went in and manually set that to my TV's resolution of 4K, or maybe I had to set it to 1080p, I can't remember, but I did that. All of a sudden, bang, it was exactly the same as the screen. The colors were fixed. So I don't think this is a HDR issue. I don't think it's a game issue. I think this is the dock or whatever you are connecting it with. Um, it's the Steam Deck's resolution should fix this. So I would like you, please, Creepy Leaf 44, to test this and come back and let us know if that has solved it. Because yeah, this sounds like that's what that is.
Yeah, I'm
I had the
also
same problem,
curious.
not with my OLED, but with my base model, and similar solution ended up fixing the problem. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm also curious when it comes to the white point or color temperature, whether that affects the output on the dock at all, or if it's just for the internal screen. I would mess around and maybe try playing with the color temperature on your TV and try and get it to match. If you're trying to output Rec 709, I'd imagine you probably know about these things. So yeah, I don't really know what else to suggest other than try game mode. See, I know your TV, you've said, only supports limited RGB. Depending on your TV set, you might be able to get a full RGB range. Limited probably will crush the blacks from the Steam Deck, which obviously HDR would try and fix. I've mostly given up though with HDR on the dock. It's a pain. Most games that I want to play with HDR don't have the support yet. Really, it was only Baldur's Gate 3 that I could get it to work in, and then I was just like, okay,
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunately been my takeaway, and I think that's whenever we talk about the docking station, I think that's like the disappointing thing we keep coming back to, which is that it just doesn't work quite right. Like it's not seamless in the way you want it to be, and there is a lot of like just random stuff like this, right? Like there was an issue that a lot of people had where it's like you plug it in and it won't display, and then you have to soft reset it while it's plugged in, and it's like there's all these weird little things that just don't quite work right. And I experienced that with Jedi Fallen Order, right? Where like I
Mhm.
couldn't get it to not look washed out. I played with all these settings. I got it to look better. It still didn't look as good as it looked on my PS4, right? The only game I was really able to get parity with was Persona 5, and that was Royal. And I was able to make those adjustments and get it to actually look like, high resolution 60 FPS, like nice, stable, and it was taking advantage of HDR and everything. That was also later on in the deck's life. So, hopefully Max's advice will work out for you because, I think there is sometimes where it's that right setting and then it works, but it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's frustrating that you clearly have a good understanding of how this stuff works to like know all these terms and be able to use them uh that way. And the fact that even you are having trouble figuring it out speaks volumes about how far the experience has to come before it's actually, you
Yeah.
know, satisfactory.
I
And I think a large part of it is because it is a PC and it's outputting PC color space
Right.
to a TV, which most TVs expect limited RGB range instead of full RGB range. I'd love to see them support like HDIG for HDR, so that the TV is not contesting and trying to also do its own tone mapping on top of what the Steam Deck's outputting. There's a whole bunch of things that the Steam Deck can improve. I don't know if some of those can be done because it is essentially a PC and it is running on Linux, and whether that's not something
Mhm.
they can kind of take advantage of. Quick handbrake though, Pete. Are you picking up Persona 3? And you're going to play that on Steam Deck?
I think I'm gonna play it on Steam Deck. Yeah, that's the plan. Because like I played the original on, or the original place Persona 5, the original Persona to me.
Yeah, the original, the sequel.
The 5th game in the series, the sequel to the 5th game in the series, the original game. I originally played that on PlayStation, right? But, when we, started doing the, book club, rest in peace, for Persona 5 Royal, um, I mean, it runs so incredibly well on Steam Deck, and if the performance of this game is anything like that, then yeah, I mean, why wouldn't I?
Yeah, it
Because
should be.
it
I mean,
works
it's
well on deck, so if I wanna or it works well docked, so if I wanna play it on the TV, I can, and it looks great on the deck screen, and it's those games are right at home on mobile. That's like their, not mobile, you know what I mean, handhelds. That's their, like, roots, right?
mhm.
So, yeah, like, I think I'll be much more likely to actually finish that game if I can play it on Steam Deck.
It's out today as of time of this going out. So
Wait, really?
if
It came out
yeah,
today?
out on
Yeah.
the 2nd of February. So
I don't know if it's
Oh,
actually
oh,
launched
as of
yet.
okay. No,
as
because
of the people listening to this, it's now out.
that's why you threw me off, because you said as of recording, and I was like, "Wait, right now? It's out right
No,
now?"
hang on a minute. Oh, it's off. No, wait. I think it came out at 6. Like it came out like 3, 4 hours
Might
ago.
be out right
3
now.
hours ago.
I was gonna say
Oh
I was
yeah,
gonna
maybe it's based on. It might be based on Japan time. So yeah,
I'll have to look.
maybe
Well,
it's not.
usually the Steam library updates. Oh yeah, I don't know. Let's find out. You guys carry on talking. I'll find
Okay.
out first.
Okay. While you figure this out, Max, I'll introduce our next question,
It's
but I'll tell you
completely irrelevant for anyone listening to this because it's
'Cause it's
definitely
it's
definitely
not
out.
for
out.
me
Yeah,
though,
it's
Steve. If
For
it's
us.
out tonight, you changed my whole evening plans. I
Okay,
thought I was
unlocks in
gonna have to wait until
approximately.
next week. I'm going away for the weekend.
It comes out on the 2nd of Feb. It unlocks in approximately 8 hours,
Son of a
so it'll
Okay.
be out
Well,
in 8 hours. By the time anyone listens to this, no wait. Do you know what? Move on. Move
by the
on.
time anyone listens to this, I'll be up at midnight playing it. So
Yeah, there we go.
okay. Yeah, by the time this airs in the UK and like Europe and everything, I'll probably still be awake playing Persona. That's probably what's happening
I'll
right
speak
now.
to you in the morning. I'll speak to you
I'll
in
see you in
12
a few
hours'
hours,
time, and
brother.
we'll have a chat.
That has happened to me a couple times recently where one of you Max wakes up and says something in our group chat, and I'm like, "I should probably go to bed," right? Like,
Yeah, I've had to send that a few times. I've sent something intended for Steve, or like I'm like, "Oh, Steve's awake," so I'll just send a message to the both of you expecting Steve to reply, then you'll reply, and I'll go, "What time is it?"
and then I
Or why
wake up and Steve hasn't answered yet.
like getting blood from a stone, speaking of which.
All right, this next one comes from the Largo Embargo who wrote it over on Discord and said, I watched this video about the Steam Deck OLED. The guy said it's probably not worth upgrading if you already own an LCD Steam Deck. What's your guys' take on this? Is it worth the upgrade for somebody whose main reason is for the new screen?
I 100% think, for me, like if you, I 100% think it was worth the money I paid for it, and the fact that I could sell my Steam Deck, use that money, get the OLED model. The screen is great, phenomenal for me. The battery, the fan, the weight, everything else that goes along with it as a whole package. I really think if you really love your Steam Deck, you play it all the time, you listen to a podcast all about the Steam Deck,
Uh-huh.
it's probably
Yeah,
worth upgrading.
the fact that you've asked the question, it's already too late. It's already too late. You Of course you need it. Um Yeah, I'm with you there because it's something that I was like, yeah, I think there's probably me on the podcast going, yeah, I'll get it eventually. Like I like the idea of it, but like I'm fine with my current Steam Deck. And then what a week later, I'd mine arrived because I
Yeah.
was just like I just didn't
Yeah.
want to miss
You
out.
caved so fast.
Everything about it just like it's just such a worthy upgrade. I think in all the ways you just said, that screen makes the screen for me was the weakest part of the Steam Deck, and it's now my favorite feature of the Steam Deck is
Yeah.
having these gorgeous,
Mhm.
colorful games, even games from like, we said before, Game Boy Advance. I was playing an NES game yesterday and was like, oh,
It looks so good. It's
yeah,
so
the
nuts.
colors versus the blacks, and like there's just empty space there as
And it just
opposed to
doesn't
a glow.
It doesn't work as well on a TV. Like a 50-inch TV for an NES game just doesn't hit as hard as it does
Yeah.
on a small OLED screen. Like
Yep.
it's I really think that's the way to play those games at this point. Yeah, we actually did an episode where we reviewed the OLED Steam Deck. It's episode 66. It's called Steam Deck OLED is a Game Changer. If you want to hear our full thoughts about it and like why we think it's a worthwhile upgrade, we kind of get into all of the nitty-gritty there. But yeah, I mean, I agree with what you two have said, where I think it's a worthwhile upgrade. I think if you are someone who, you know, I think the question always becomes like, what is your budget like? Right? Like if you are somebody who has a lot of expendable income for games and that's your hobby and you are comfortable selling your Steam Deck and getting a new one, or you've got the money to throw around, then I would say absolutely upgrade. The screen is incredible, but I don't even think that's not the only worthwhile upgrade. The battery increase is insane. Like insane how much
Mhm.
more battery life you get out of this thing compared to the original. The sound quality, right, of the speakers is a lot better. Like it is I think across the board quality of life improvement. And if you're the type of person that like bought a PS4 Pro, or like you're constantly upgrading your rig, or you buy the second iteration of Nintendo handhelds because you want those little upgrades and you want the extra bells and whistles, yeah, man, like I think it's well worth your investment. I don't
I
regret it at all.
I looked at the battery life for Celeste 64 as I was playing it yesterday, and I think I could have completed it 4 times before the battery would have run out.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy, isn't it? I
Whereas,
mean,
like,
even when I was playing something like, The Last of Us, I could get 2.5 hours out of that, and
yeah,
I don't really play. I don't wanna play for much longer than that anyway, in one session
I
holding the
agree.
Steam Deck.
sure.
So, I can get through a session, plug it in, and it charges quicker as well than
Yeah.
the original model. There's just so much when it
Downloads
comes
are
to it.
faster, which
Oh
is
yeah.
Yeah.
like that was one of the not great things about the original deck. Like I remember when I downloaded Baldur's Gate 3 on my base Steam Deck, it took like overnight. Like I had to let it go for like 6 hours or some shit like that.
Mhm.
And when I got my OLED deck, the day it showed up, I downloaded Baldur's Gate because I was like, I want to do a test before we review it. Let me start it now so I can play it tomorrow. And it was done in 90 minutes. Like
That's such a place of privilege there, you saying that. You're saying, "I had to do it overnight." Yeah, I had to do it overnight too because I've got UK internet on my
I'm
OLED.
Yeah, I
sorry.
know,
I don't
and I
know.
had it wired into my router as well when I was doing it. It was ridiculous.
I don't know what to tell you guys. Come move to Philadelphia. I got a guest room. All right. Okay. Hmm. Hmm.
One more. Let's pick
One
one
more?
more.
Okay, we'll do one more. We've got I'll tell you this. We got one from Six Shot Ocelot we've been sitting on.
That's the
I'm
main
saving it.
topic.
That's a main
Yeah.
topic. We're gonna do this other one, but Six Shot, we're saving it. Okay, it's not that we're ignoring it. We're saving it. We're saving it. All right,
We've
this
been
one
we've
comes.
been speaking about this internally for a while because we think
Yeah,
this is a big main topic that we're gonna have to think
yeah.
about.
I want to this is gonna be like a full episode, right? It's like okay, so respect on the question is why you're not getting it yet. Okay, that's why I just want to be clear. We're gonna end on this one from Scale Speeder for the day, who wrote it in on the Discord and said, "I've got a couple questions if you don't mind." You know what, Scale Speeder, we don't mind. We appreciate you writing into the show, and if you guys want to write in, guess what? Head over to flipscreen.games and you can do that too and be a part of the Steam Docket segment, just like Scale Speeder did. Should the Steam Deck, or at least its next iteration, have a SIM card slot for true portability? And should there be a Steam official additional controller and or mouse keyboard or even headphones or the special glasses like you can get for the Legion Go? Thanks. So let's break this down. I think let's start with
Sim.
the SIM card slot. What do
No,
we think
no, it
about a SIM
shouldn't.
card slot?
No. So the problem with the sim is you've then got a 5G modem in there, which are terrible for battery life. And also, I don't think you need a SIM card slot if you're going to go down that route anyway. I would want an eSIM in there so that you can just like swap around and you can just get a data plan. But no, like you'll chew through the data plan that you have.
Yeah,
Like it's going to cost so much money if you stay online. And I think it's just going to make the battery worse. If it's an option, fair enough. If it's additional SKU, fair enough. But I
sure.
don't necessarily think
Just
it's
hotspot.
needed.
I
Just
think it's
hotspot.
just you hotspot, right? Because it's just like I think Sony tried that with the Vita, and it just didn't. I just don't think it makes sense. Like you don't want it. Nobody's gonna
Yeah,
want to pay like a cell phone bill for to make sure their Steam Deck can be online. Not
yeah,
nobody, but I don't think enough people for it to be a worthwhile
Yeah, it's
part
not
of the
like an
build.
iPad, for example, where it's a general computing device where you are using it all the time. Maybe you're on the train and you want to be able to access your Excel spreadsheets or
For
whatever.
the
What?
plane, stuff like that, right? Like it's
Mhm.
like, you need to use it for work, like totally, right? But like I think for a leisure device, it's just too much of an investment. Whereas like if that kind of thing is really important to you, you probably own a hotspot or something, or use your phone,
Your
right? And you
phone. Everyone uses
pay
their
for extra
phone. Yeah.
data.
you people don't have phones?
No, you can do that, but right, you can also buy one of those they're like $50 a month or
Oh,
something, and
Mhm.
they
cool,
pump
cool.
out insanely good internet. That like people use those if they like a lot of folks who are like on the convention scene and stuff will use that because it's
Yeah,
like I'm in a fucking convention center made of concrete and there's 100 other people pinging the cell tower and you
Mhm.
can't get any service,
yeah,
but the brick will work, right? And it gives you enough power to like connect your laptop, connect your phone, connect your Switch, whatever, right? Your Steam Deck. Um yeah. So I don't think so. I think it's a nice idea, but I think to Steve's point, in practice, it's just not super practical.
yep,
Okay. Should there be a new official Steam controller
Yeah.
and or
yes,
mouse slash keyboard?
yes,
Yes.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
We're
That's
big
the I think that's the
advocates
one thing we've
for a
all agreed
new.
on.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think that's the one thing we've all agreed on for ever since we've been doing this show together has been, what do we want? Steam Controller 2. What do we want? Steam Controller 2. I started writing Steam Controller 2 I think this when this question came up from Six Shot Ocelot, the first thing I wrote down, I think I even say at the start in that episode when it first gets brought up was, I know what we're gonna say. We're all gonna say Steam Controller 2.
I just
Isn't
like
it one of my predictions for the year as well that they're gonna like?
was it?
I think it's someone else's as well that they're gonna like
Mine
announce.
was
uh,
an official like accessory or
Gotcha.
like a new piece of hardware or a
Yeah.
peripheral, and yours is a third party Steam Controller 2 or something like that.
Yeah, if people don't know, we do predictions over on the Flip Screen Games podcast every year, where we like come up with stupid things that might happen throughout the year. And
No, you two come up with stupid things that might happen, and I guess things that
okay,
actually happen.
all right.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah, I think there's nothing that I would like more for the Steam Deck than a
Yeah.
Steam controller 2 that's actually good. That would be pretty sick.
The mouse and keyboard thing would be cool if it's one of those like fold up Bluetooth ones that sort of like if it
That's
had
the
like a
only
I'd
one
little
I
fuck
would
around with
want.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if
that'd be
it had a
cool.
pull out dock as well, like a little pull out stand so that you
Oh,
can not dock, but like you can pull it out and like sit
yeah,
your
yeah.
thing in it. If it works without the need for external power, great. If you could have like a little like it's just for desktop mode. Oh, I want to quickly download this ROM, and then download the game. That was me using
Yeah.
it by the way. Great, I'd like that. Would I pay the amount it would cost? I doubt it, but would be cool.
I you hit me with the foldable, and I'm like, that would be sick if it was small enough that you could stick it in that little bag that comes with the
Yeah.
OLED, or that it could go like in that little slot in the back. That would be tight.
What's
That would
the
be really
what's
cool.
what's the strap on the back for with a little gap? What's that for? Nothing fits in that.
I'll tell you what, actually, I do know what it's for.
Go on.
Because I remember saying that, and I don't remember if it was somebody in the Discord who wrote in or I saw it on the subreddit. But if you're traveling and you have like a
Put the
bag,
charger in there.
you could do that, but that's insane because I don't want to lose my charger. Um, you just slide it on. You can slide it on like a piece of luggage or like something like that, and it
Uh,
is locked in. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's how I'm gonna get robbed if I do that, so I'm not gonna do that, but,
yeah,
I went traveling recently and I bought just a backpack, that's all we paid for, and I was like a Ninja Turtle because my Steam Deck was jammed in there because I was
yeah,
like, "I have to take this with me," and it was, like, sticking out with me, and it was, like, really uncomfortable, but I had to take it on the plane. It was well worth it.
absolutely. Okay, so then headphones are special. I don't think that stuff makes sense to me. I
The
think
glasses are actually compatible with the Steam Deck. I have seen the,
They are,
X-Real
yeah, but you have
Air
to get a
Pros.
weird, you have to install a driver, it's a whole custom process. If you
There's a
wanna use
plugin
them
for it.
in if you wanna use them in gaming mode, you need to use Decky Loader, which is not, it's not a seamless experience,
No.
whereas if there was glasses made by Valve and you just plug them in like they are with the Legion
Yeah.
Go, you put them on your face and it's easy peasy,
I
but
just don't think it's I don't think Valve's the type of company that's gonna spend R&D to, like, make a pair
no,
of
I
Yeah.
headphones
don't.
or weird
I
glasses or
I could see
something.
them partnering with people though, like they did
Sure.
with HTC for the Vive. I could see them partnering and being like, okay, we're gonna put out a range of accessories like a mouse and keyboard, like headphones, like glasses that are maybe Steam Deck branded, or
Yeah.
maybe it's like a works with Steam Deck label, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Xbox has.
Steam
Surprised we don't
branding and yeah, works with that kinda thing.
I'm surprised we don't see more officially licensed third-party stuff with the Steam Deck. Like, all of the PowerA stuff on the Switch, for example, is, like, Nintendo branded, there's Nintendo characters on them, like, it's all proper stuff, whereas all of the, I forget the name of the company, who does all of the Steam Deck exclusives?
JSOX.
JSOULs, all of that stuff. None of that sort of seems to be officially it's all just versions of, as opposed to officially licensed stuff, so I would like
Hmm.
to see more of that kind of thing.
I wonder what the reason is there because it's like, I wonder if Valve is shy about it because of what happened with the Steam machines, right? That was like a very public them partnering with other companies and like it led to, I think a lack of quality control, right? And like
Maybe?
and I'm not saying that like that they're like, okay, we don't want to, but like with the deck, maybe the thought was like, let's keep it in house and establish a strong base and work out kinks and then
Yeah.
partner like very selectively with specific
I think that's what they need to do. It's got to be selective with specific,
Power
hardware
A would be a
accessory
great
makers.
choice.
Well,
That's a
I think
great
8-Bit
call out.
Dough would be a great choice
I
as
agree
well,
with
Sure.
like,
that
get
one.
Either way.
them on board.
Do you know what I think it is? I think that it is the fact that you can't go into shop and buy a Steam Deck, so there's just not the space in shops maybe for this stuff to go. There's just like
They have the Steam store though. Like, why not just sell it direct market
yeah,
like you did with the
that's true.
controller, like you did with the deck? Like, I I feel like that's their thing, right? Is like you buy it from us. And like, I
Mhm.
guess that's the question of like how the third party stuff works out. But like, I don't know, like the Steam storefront is so massive. Like, even if you partnered with an 8-bit dough and you were like, we're only going to sell it on Steam, like they'd still make a shitload of money on that, I imagine, if it's a good controller, right? Like,
I think you could still sell it on Amazon, you could sell them on the 8-Bit Dough website.
yeah,
8-Bit Dough do officially branded Xbox controllers for, like,
right.
the cloud
Exactly.
streaming, so they could
They're
easily do
available
do
everywhere.
that, yeah.
Why not, right?
And it
Eh,
and it can be compatible with PC as well, right? So people know the
sure.
Steam logo, they know it's a PC thing,
You
doesn't
could have
have to
it
just be the Steam Deck.
you could have it built to interact with big picture mode too, right? Like and
Mm,
that's the advantage if you buy it as a, a PC controller.
touchpads. It's just touchpads for PC,
I know. I
Perfect.
was not on board with the touchpads really, when I didn't think when they announced it, I didn't think that there was gonna be any purpose to them, but I use them all the time.
It would make using your PC because as someone who streams their PC to their Steam Deck a lot, it'd be very handy to just be able to have immediate control over my
Go get
PC
yourself
like
a
a
Steam
PC.
controller, Max.
I have been eyeing them up. I see them in CEX every now and again, and it comes with the dongle, and they look filthy. They look fucking disgusting. But I think I could clean them up. I'm just worried about getting it and they immediately announce a second one, or I get it and the thumbstick falls off, or it starts to peel,
Max,
or I
I
just
think
hate it.
I think you need to take that bullet for the community and buy one so that they will announce a second one. You know what I'm saying? It's a loss for you, but it's a win for every other Steam Deck user. And I think that I think maybe it's time for us. Like we owe it to the community. You
I've
know,
never thought of myself as a sacrifice, but
you could
you're
be a martyr.
100% right. You're
You could be a
100%
martyr for
right.
the deck community. And
Watch this space.
yeah.
Watch
If
this
you
space.
if you're gonna be Jesus, I'll be your Peter, man. No worries. Got the
You
name
already
down
are.
already.
You already are my Peter. I was
Already
gonna
are.
say.
I already got you, baby. Already got you.
Is there a
All
Steve
right,
in the
gang.
Bible? I don't know.
Jesus Christ. The Steam Deck podcast is bigger than Jesus. Anyway, gang, thank you for joining us here. Parody, by the way. Didn't mean to offend anybody's faith, okay? Okay, so thank you for joining us here at another episode of the Steam Deck podcast. If you want to let us know your answers to these questions, right? Do you want a SIM card in your deck? If a bunch of you were like, fuck you guys, I definitely want that. I want to hear from you, right? What is that use case that you're so hungry for? That would be sick, you know?
Nobody ever
Mhm.
makes us look like fucking idiots on this show anymore, do they? No one ever comments in or writes in making
It's
us look
been a
like
minute,
fools.
call us out.
Why do we're up here on our ivory towers, brains growing, egos out of control. Someone knock us down a peg or two and
I'll tell you
tell us
what, the worst thing, Max, is the last time someone tried to come at us, they were a total asshole, right? Like somebody commented on the Pal World thing. It's like, oh, just 3 people talking the whole time. It's like, yeah, it's a podcast, my guy. It says it on the fucking thumbnail. What'd you think it was?
also missed the word handsome off that, didn't they? 3 handsome
Yeah,
guys
3
just
handsome gentlemen talking about
shooting the shit, man.
Anyway, I'm lost in where I am in the plugs. I
Oh,
love you.
sorry.
Thank you for tuning in. If you want to show your support on Patreon and get a bunch of perks and goodies, if you want to write into the show, if you want to get involved in the community, which I suggest doing all of those things because it's a great time, head over to flipscreen.games. That's our website. You will find links to all those things and much more. And if I told you to do that twice in a row, sorry. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Steam Deck podcast. For the crew, I've been Pete. He's been Steve. All the way over there has been Max. We'll see you next week, baby.